Huberdeau, nice pass, finds Cameron. Peltier joins him on the rush, going to the goal. There's the pass, right in, scores! Jacob Peltier's first NHL goal. A beauty on a 2-on-1, and it's a 1-goal game.
Welcome to the Wildcast Podcast, coming to you from Wildcast Studios, with your hosts Adam Lund and Jeremy Boucher.
Oh, welcome back to Wildcast Studios for another episode of the Wildcast Podcast, your unofficial voice for all things Moncton Wildcats. As always, fan listeners, I am your host, and all by myself. That was really bad singing. That's not what you're here for. I am joined by your favorite co-host, or not in the studio, as you can see on YouTube, but he is, I believe, I want to say on his way to Calgary as he celebrated the Jacob Peltier's first goal that you heard there. But I am joined by Mr. Jeremy Boucher, who is this location undisclosed, correct?
Well, I'm actually on a scouting
mission.
Scouting trip. That's right. Yeah.
We'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, I'm in the Port City, home of the Sea Dogs. I'll give that away. Just finished up the. Let's say I was scouting the NBPEI midget tournament in Quispamsis over the weekend. Let's say I was doing that, and I'm still here doing some running around until the middle of the week.
Well, you know what? We always appreciate your scouting knowledge and what you put into it. So it's a little bit easier to see that from a live screen than watching it on your TV. Have you started your new Twitter handle yet? And what we think?
Are you talking about my unicorn name?
No, I'm talking about shit my wife says during sports. As you had some of the most. You messaged me with some of the during the Super Bowl, some of the iconic things. Before we get to the Super Bowl, just like some of the shit. What was it? The Seattle Sea Dogs and.
That's right. Yes, my wife, who of course is a huge sports fan. The biggest sports fan out there.
Ish, yeah.
I had her guess the teams participating in the Super Bowl based on their logos. Now, she said Philadelphia was the Seattle Sea Dogs, and she referred to Kansas City as the Arrows.
Which is not technically wrong. She's close. I mean, the Sea Dogs logo and the Eagles logo, if you're looking at it, they kind of aim the same way, I guess, but I mean, that's what was her prediction for the score too?
She said when it was 7-7, I asked her what the score was, and she said 22-3. So I was she wouldn't know how to guess the score of a football game. I think I asked her that question last year, and I think it's actually on my Facebook memories.
Yeah.
Let me just pull it up here. Oh yes, last year she said the Bengals were going to win 5-3.
Not bad.
So that was her Super Bowl prediction last year, and clearly she needs to, realize that there's more scoring in football.
Yeah. So hopefully you're going to teach Avery what about football and how to count scoring and teams and logos and stuff for.
Yeah, she wanted to stay up to watch the game last night, Sunday night.
Yeah.
And she was upset because she fell asleep shortly after the 2-minute and 2-second U.S. national anthem.
Nice. So getting into the game, I mean, your thoughts on the game first, and then we'll get to the halftime show. But your thoughts on the game?
What game? Because we all know it was the Rihanna concert.
That's true. That's true. Okay, we'll start with the Rihanna concert. As someone who a couple weeks ago said I wasn't a fan of Rihanna, and then I started listening to her playlist to get hyped up. We suck at guessing. She didn't even play our song, let alone start it. I had to ask you what the first song was because I didn't even know what it was. That's how big of a Rihanna fan.
Have my money.
Yeah, that's how big of a Rihanna fan I am. I don't know. I was just kind of underwhelmed, and I don't know if I was expecting the big theatrical dance numbers and all the the past Super Bowls with the weekend, and he had the big stage and then the dancing, and then last year's iconic Dr. Dre. So your expectations were up. I like the sets coming down. I thought the wire stages were kind of cool, but I was underwhelmed, and maybe I don't know what a Rihanna show is. Maybe obviously some things came out after that probably was why she didn't really dance as much, but great singer, and just for me, I was underwhelmed. What about you?
Yeah, I was more kind of. It was a great performance.
Yeah.
It was incredible. But you can only fit so many songs into a 15-minute set.
Yeah.
And she left out some bangers. Like there were some bangers that she just did not play.
Yeah. The two we said. Yep.
Please don't stop the music. Ponder replay.
Shut up and drive.
Yeah, like those are 4 classic Rihanna songs that she didn't even get a chance to perform. So look, I could have watched that for 3 hours.
Yeah.
That's just the kind of singer she is. She's got the hits. She played the hits, and she could have been out there for 55 minutes. She could have been the Super Bowl because she's that talented. She's got that many songs in her back pocket.
And that's the thing too, is when you have 13 minutes and you have that many hits, like nothing against The Weeknd, but he doesn't have as many hits as Rihanna because he hasn't been doing this as long. And, same with last year's hits. They all had so many hits that when it's 13 minutes, do you play, if you have most of your hits and play like a minute and a half to 2 minutes to jam them all in, or do you just try to do it for a show wise to put a show together from like upbeat to slow to, she ended in Diamonds. Shout out to Will, who actually picked a song that was in the performance, maybe not the first one, but she ended with Diamonds. It's just like, where do you find that balance of playing all your songs or having a performance where you're allowed to sing a little bit? And I think she found a pretty decent balance in that. I only didn't know one song, and that was the first one.
Yeah. And last week I was kind of going through her song list, and I was like, bitch better have my money with like what the dark horse songs that I wanted to take, and I was just like, does she have it in her to start with that song? And I was like, no, there's no way she would start with that song.
Yeah. And
so
it was, did you stay up for the whole game?
No.
No.
I was in bed before. I was passed out before Kansas City got their opening touchdown in the second half.
Wow.
Like I literally, after the halftime show, I turned off my TV, went to bed, and I was out cold. I was probably before the second half even started. I was out.
Wow. I watched the whole thing. Obviously, I had no skin in the game, as I had said many times. I didn't care. It was one of the better Super Bowls for 58 minutes. The last 2 minutes, pretty anticlimactic, and maybe I'll get to that in a minute. But commercial-wise, for the amount of crap that we thought we'd get of continual Canadian commercials that we see all the time, I actually think we got a pretty good mix of U.S. commercials and Canadian commercials. I think my favorite was the TD commercial. Being afraid to talk about money, where the kid comes in and he's like, "Hey, Dad, can we talk about my retirement?" And the dad's like, let's talk about the night you were conceived instead. Or the girl's like, "A nice place. How much? What kind of rate did you get? Do you want to see my rash?" Like, just being afraid to talk. I think that was one of the funnier commercials for me.
Well, for me, the best commercial was the Explore New Brunswick.
Was that was that on the Super Bowl promote? Like, was that everywhere?
It was played during as soon as halftime hit. It was one of the first commercials to play, and it was played across Canada.
Wow. Okay.
$186,000 they paid to air that commercial, and hopefully they get a return on investment.
Wow.
Because
I didn't even think anything of it. It come up, and I'm like, oh, we got a regional CTV, because Fredericton Nissan had some too, and I'm like, did you guys pay to have that across Canada? Because I made the joke. I was like, whoa, Fredericton Nissan's doing pretty well. # not a sponsor. If they've got commercials in the Super Bowl, but that New Brunswick one was in the Super Bowl across Canada.
It was. I don't know if the Fredericton Nissan one was played nationally, but yeah, the Explore NB one was put on throughout Canada. It doesn't matter if you were, St. John's, Newfoundland, or Victoria, BC. You were seeing an Explore New Brunswick commercial.
Well, hopefully that returns an investment. So Lund family, come out and visit us. again. But yeah, one of the better Super Bowls. Again, the call there, I didn't have any skin in the game. If it was being called all night with those ticky-tack holding fouls and stuff, I'd have been fine with it. But at 2 minutes where you're not sure, you just got to let them play, because once they called that, it was fait accompli. Like at least they could have given, and I'm not saying that Philadelphia would have gone down, because Kansas City was going to kick the field goal. They might have made it. They might not, but from that distance. But I'm not saying Philadelphia was going to go down the field and score. They didn't stop them up until that point either. So you've got situations where, but it just, in that 2 minutes, I don't want to be the conspiracy guy, but you just see so much sports betting. I mean, every professional league, the refs are full time, except the $1 billion NFL. And I think now that you're getting into sports betting and so much relies on sports betting, I think the NFL truly has to look at maybe making officials full time, because I mean these guys are lawyers, doctors, they have high paying jobs to be able to take basically 6 months every weekend off and travel, but they got to do something to get back to actual professional full time officials, because it's just that the game was so good except for that last 2 minutes, and once you saw the flag, you're like, Kansas City wins, that's it.
Yeah, I saw the penalty, and
this morning,
I think the Eagles player even said that he agreed it was a holding call.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know, if the player who took the penalty says it was holding, it's holding. He's that's just the way I see it. But it was holding. It looks like holding to me. But yeah, in that juncture of the game, you maybe take the whistles away, but.
Well, and I think the NFL, they've got a sky cam and an eye judge or whatever they call it, where they can buzz down and say that wasn't a call or that wasn't this. I think that might have been a time to do it. But again, he came out and say it was a hold. Maybe he said that because he didn't want the controversy and didn't want his house egged by fanatic Philly fans. But it's a situation where it's just a tough time to see that being called, especially when there's not a lot of things being called. But you know what? We're not a football podcast. We're a hockey podcast, so let's get into that. Don't forget, as always, you can follow us on social medias, Twitter, Moncton Wildcast, Instagram, Wildcast Podcast, TikTok, Wildcast Podcast, and on YouTube. But don't forget to like and subscribe. No quick question, but I was in PEI over the weekend, and the Canada Games about to roll out, which gets us kind of into draft season. We've got the Val-d'Or watch coming up here. You can go now or you can wait a little bit. But it gets us talking about the latest crop of draft-eligible players, as they're all going to be heading to PEI. So instead of looking forward, which we've got lots of time to do, why don't we look back? You did some research on some of our picks through the pipeline. You found a little bit of an interesting depth situation. So why don't you take this one?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess we'll kind of tie this into the team of the week, right? It's I'm going with instead of doing an actual Q team of the week.
Okay.
I decided to do a Moncton Wildcats prospects.
Ooh, all right.
Team of the week. Now, with that said, I will we'll start things off with in goal. We've got I'm going with Eli James.
Good call.
With Ross A. Netherwood. 2.38 goals against average in 13 games. So him, and also Wildcats prospect Riley Sampson. Is that his name, Riley Sampson?
Yep.
Yeah. So this past weekend, they with Ross A, they won the Midwest Prep School Hockey League Championship for the first time in school history.
Not a big deal.
Yeah, shout out to those guys. It's not often that you see a little school from Ross and New Brunswick competing in the Midwest Prep School Hockey League, but here you are. That's Eli James, Riley Sampson, and I think the Wildcats New Brunswick scout Jeff Lewis is also their head scout, their head coach. So a few Wildcat connections there. On the back end, and this is kind of where I want to address things. When I was looking at putting this team together, there's not very much in the pipeline when it comes to D. what did I mention to you yesterday? The first, other than Fortier Gendron in the last draft, we didn't take a defenseman until
the 8th or 10th round, something like that.
Yeah, it was late. Like they went really forward heavy, and it was like that the draft before. Other than Etienne Morin, they didn't have a pick until they didn't take a defenseman until the 7th or 8th round.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's strategy. Or,
They're tired of carrying
or
8
what.
defensemen.
But it just seems that there's not much depth on the back end. So it was tough to come up with 2D here, but I did get 2D. So I'm going to go with Ryan Hackett, who's, of course, been called up a couple times.
Yep.
So it's tough to leave him off. Campbellton Tigers, 3 goals and 7 assists in 38 games. And then I'm going to go with my cousin Matthew Boucher,
Good call.
on the Saint Foy Dynamics, 5 goals, 7 assists in 30 games.
So
Up front,
he was the 8th round selection.
Yeah.
After we took Moran in the 2nd, and then James Richard was the 7th rounder in 2021.
yeah,
And then the 8th round, Nathan DeBrill
yeah, like
after
there's,
Fortier Gendron.
I don't know, like there's not much depth on the D, so I don't know if they're doing that on purpose, if they're
Which even speaks more to the surprise that Iasenza was dealt, right? Like your depth is already kind of
you're kind of
thin.
that's taken 2 away from your depth, and you're going the next year, and Ballantyne and Marcel are both going to be 19-year-olds. Well, do you want 2 19-year-old right shot defensemen? It's tough. I think it really needs to be addressed at the next draft, and even in the import draft, really.
Mm-hmm.
Up front, we're going to go with Sidney Delorier, the St. Eustache Vikings, 14 goals, 14 assists, 41 games, and also a goal per game player in the queue. Can't forget that.
No, that's huge.
Yeah, and then we have Cooper Cormier, who's just having a ridiculous year for the Flyers, 25 goals, 24 assists in 31 games. That's just regular season. That doesn't include tournaments like the Monktonian, the Ice Jam, this past weekend in Quispam. So he's having a really good year for a player who was, I think, a 14th round pick for the Wildcats. And you're the one that watches the Flyers more often than I do, Adam. He's got a wicked shot.
Yeah, he's right now in that Loshing position on their power play, and whether they got a bumper or they go too high, he's there and he lets it go. And one of the he hits the net, he's getting it there, and he's very aggressive going to the net. He likes to make a lot of moves and use his body. Last couple of games, I've kind of not compared him to the player per se, but the type of style is John Leclerc. Like he's got enough speed that it's almost deceptive speed in AAA. I'm not sure if it translates to the Q, but when he gets in front of the net, he's just big and he's not movable very easy. And I think that's been one of his strengths in this season. And his shot on the power play has just been unreal this year.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess I couldn't wrap up a prospects team without including Cole Eiserman.
We're doing our best. We're doing our best for recruitment.
I think, of course, Adam, we've yet to start it, but the GoFundMe to get this kid to Moncton, I think should be an adventure we take on together.
Yeah.
So he split his season with the U.S. Under-17 development program and the USHL, which, of course, is the top junior A league in the States.
Yeah.
16 years old, playing against 20-year-old players. 60 games, 51 goals, 41 assists for 92 points.
Not a big deal.
Almost a goal per game.
Yeah.
Just dominating. Like I said, if we ever can get this player in a Wildcats jersey other than the one he got for being drafted, he will break some records. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that would he be at the Crosby Bedard selling out the rink style hype if he was here for a certain I say a certain season, but I'm talking Memorial Cup, and again, that comes down to the Gauthier trade if they actually go for it. But if that happens and all our ducks line up and our GoFundMe works real well, is he that kind of a draw to other markets as the Wildcats go in, or is it just a get your tickets now type thing here in Moncton?
It's going to be one of those things where I just in the U.S. or in the big hockey markets, like in New England, he's known. They know what he's got. In Minnesota, they know what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
The NHL scouts, the scouts at those levels already know his name. They know what he's capable of.
Yeah.
There's hype around him just because he's going to be a goal scorer. When you got 51 goals in 60 games and half those games are against 20-year-olds, you're doing pretty good. The hype's not there. I mean, he's easily going to be a top 10 pick in the 2024 draft, but there's no hype around him yet,
right?
Which is probably a good thing.
Okay.
For his game. So, but no, he's easily going to be a top 10 top 10 player in the 2024 draft. And like I said, if he ever wears a Wildcats jersey other than the one he wore after getting drafted, if he even wore it,
yeah.
It'll be huge for the organization. He will. I'm not saying he will break Connor Garland records, because he's probably only going to be
here for 1 year,
a 1 or 2 year player, but he would do some serious damage if he was playing with the right players.
Yeah. That's a pretty good team of the week / prospect update. Well done.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
It was pretty as difficult as naming two defensemen.
Yeah.
Pretty easy.
Yeah.
Choose two defensemen. You've got James Richards, who I figured he'd be playing Junior A, but according to EP, he's still playing U18s. There's other players that I could have went with Kiefer Thompson or but Kiefer Thompson apparently is still playing for Charlottetown.
Yeah.
And it's when you're an 18-year-old or a 17-year-old and it's 2 years removed since your Q draft year, you should be playing at a higher level.
Yeah.
He's not. If there was an honorable mention for goalie, it was Keegan Warren, who's playing for the Yarmouth Mariners, I think they're called.
Yeah. Yarmouth.
And Yarmouth, yeah.
Yeah, Mariners.
And he's got like a 19-3 record and a 2-point-something goals against average, but he's also he's one of the top teams in the league. So I didn't want to go in like those stats are probably, without seeing him play this year, maybe a little probably benefiting from the players that are around him.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I went with Eli James, just based on age and stats. And I saw that he had seven wins this year, and 3 of them were shutouts.
Yeah.
So he's either shutting out a team or he's letting in 2 or 3 games. If he can get it figured out, I think he might have a chance at maybe a backup role in the league here. But I had to go with James just for that reason.
Yeah, and it's not. I mean, Keegan Warren was the 14th round selection. Like he was Moncton's final selection in 2021. So it's never a bad thing to have. You want to do your Valdor update now, or you want to do a Valdor update in a little bit?
We can do it now. We'll get your voice rested up a little bit.
Yeah.
Still have my jingle from last week?
I do, yeah. So I'll play the jingle over now. So it's like 2 seconds. Valdor report. There you go.
All right. So under the Valdor watch. So they went 1-1 since last time we spoke, and their one win was probably the surprise of the week.
Yeah, they broke them.
7-0 thumping over Victoriaville, which
they broke Victoriaville.
Surprised me a lot. Surprised a lot of people. The good thing about that is the teams that were behind them actually ended up having better weeks. So they're now 16th overall. in the 18-team league. I think last week they were
15th. Yeah.
Yeah, so they dropped one spot. And so right now that'll give the Wildcats 3 balls out of 21, or a 14% chance at the first overall pick. Last week was 10%.
Yeah, it messed me up when they put Ottawa in the league standings.
Yes.
Because I'm like, oh, there's still 4. Wait, no, Ottawa doesn't count in our league. It's 18, so.
Yeah, exactly. So
2 points behind St. John.
2 points behind St. John now, and so it seems like every week they're dropping a spot, which is, just that much better for us. Of course, St. John, they've got some tough games this weekend. Sherbrooke, don't think you're going to beat Sherbrooke, but I think they've got 2 games against Charlottetown. So
yeah,
I think Charlottetown could, or St. John could easily win one, possibly both of those games. As for Val-d'Or, they are
1 against Cape Breton tonight and 2 against Chicoutimi over the weekend.
That's it. Tonight against Cape Breton, in Val-d'Or, and then they've got Saturday and Sunday against Chicoutimi, both in Val-d'Or. So they've got 3 home games this weekend. This week, actually, I think Cape Breton will want to win this game to separate themselves from Val-d'Or a little more, because standing wise is a big game.
4 point.
Chicoutimi, as much as we want to see them lose these 2 games, we also kind of want to see them win both these 2 games, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be a tough spot for Wildcats fans. We're kind of on a sitting on a double-edged sword here.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's, what happened on Saturday night is what fans don't want, and that's when Rimouski, Baie-Comeau, Chicoutimi play each other, and they have 3-point games. We need those to be 2 points. Just none of this overtime crap. And actually, I think they went to overtime. They went to a shootout on Sunday too. So it'd be cool if they could just stop playing 3-point games between those 2 teams. But I think selfishly for our show, I think it'd be cooler for Chicoutimi to get some W's and allow Val-d'Or to keep dropping, so we have a better chance at number 1. And maybe if we've got a real good chance at number 1, maybe we can go somewhere and do a nice live draft lottery show.
We could do that, because usually it's
on RDS or online or something.
Yeah, and I don't know if they do it at nighttime, or is it like a 5 o'clock thing? I don't know, but
it'd be kind of, Either way, that's we got some hockey to get to before we get into that. So, but either way, that'd be kind of cool to have all of our fan listeners come down, join us, see a live show, and go from there. All right, let's get some news and notes from around the queue.
News and notes from around the queue.
Some big changes in the front office this past week. Philip Boucher of the Drummondville Voltigeurs resigned, and Pascal Daou of Val-d'Or was relieved of his duties. I'm not sure which of those 2 is more of a shock to you. I probably would say Boucher, just because, he was part of the, they're in the window maybe next year to compete. They went kind of all in to get Tyler Peddle, make sure he was going to show up. The Val-d'Or one, I understand they are not great, but usually that doesn't happen when you go to a more President's Cup final with a super team, and then 2 years later. So I don't know which one of those 2 surprised you, if either one of those surprised you.
Well, obviously, a little upsetting that Uncle Phil was, decided to step down there. But you know what? It was weird. You especially at this point in the season, you don't see 2 in one day, which was super rare. So when you saw 2 in one day, you're wondering, okay, well, is there something going on behind the scenes that, maybe we don't know about? Was this one in Val-d'Or, Daou, was he offered to step down, or if he didn't, he was fired? There's really weird. I didn't think that the GM in Drummondville, Phil Boucher, would step down, because really I thought it was kind of like what we've talked about a lot here recently is coaching.
Yeah.
Right.
They played that card.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's weird. You didn't expect to. I didn't expect to see that. These are moves that you probably would have seen at the end of the year. But for some reason, they've decided to do a little sooner. And so Phil's out, and the new GM in Val-d'Or is their head coach, Maxime Desrouzeaux, who's also a former Wildcats defenseman. So he's got the head coaching job now. He's got the general manager job now. And so that's a couple surprising moves. I didn't expect to see it, especially those right now.
Yeah, exactly. And you you generally see coaching moves in and around, maybe November or early January, depends how the team goes. But I think first time in 5 years that I've seen not only one GM be let go mid-season, or near a month and a half left, but the fact that two of them were kind of, I feel like you're right on the either step down or you're let go in Val-d'Or, and maybe it was the same thing in Drummondville. And I mean, when your team's not playing up to expectations, you have two cards as an owner to play, and that's the coach, and then that's the general manager. And they played the coach card. They got a little bit of a coach bump, but they kind of settled back into just kind of where they were. So I think the next situation was it was the GM card, but I don't think they named a replacement yet, did they?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay.
In Drummondville, I don't think they have. I haven't seen anything, so as far as I know right now, just Desrouzeaux in where am I talking? Val-d'Or here.
Yeah.
That was it. That's all I know about.
All right, and a couple suspensions that we'll get to. One was our guy. One was technically used to be our guy. Anthony Hamel was given 2 games for kneeing. It was a flat-out knee. And I said it Saturday in the post-game show from Charlottetown. I didn't think he was going to be, at least in this one coming up. I knew he was going to get at least 1. He ends up getting 2. I don't know how many. It's like his second or third suspension, but just 2 games for him. And then obviously the one, 2, because in January he got an aggressor one and after that fight. And then the other one that, a bit of a weird one. Let's be honest. It started out as a mom on Twitter, and then which led to the Q coming out and saying we have no video evidence. We're not going to do anything. I feel like it was a scheduled tweet from the Mooseheads, not actually trying to be cute. Just
no, come on,
really bad timing.
No, it was.
You think it was
planned?
You think so?
Oh, the way they worded it.
I didn't really see the way they worded it. I didn't really read it. It could have been
definitely planned.
Well, now I got to go see how they worded it.
It was definitely planned. There's no way that was, if that was a timed tweet, I mean, that's
like
just
a scheduled one. Yeah.
Just the way they, in my opinion, the way they worded it, they were trying to get under Gatineau's skin, and it backfired on them. Like tremendously backfired.
Yeah. Because, I mean, that's a rivalry that I don't think the Q knew they had, and now they have it.
Yeah,
which is something that you don't generally see 2 teams that far. Either way, I mean, it come out that, the Q wasn't going to do any type of suspension because they didn't have video evidence. Then one of the media reporters basically found video evidence real quick, and he's been suspended indefinitely. I can't see him playing in the regular season. They're going to have, how many games they got left? Halifax has 17 games remaining. So, he's already had what, 2 games? So
basically that'd be a 20 game suspension if he's out the rest of the season.
It's got to be at least, that's what, 9 in his career now. It's got to at least be double digits. I can't see him playing in the regular season. Now, that would be a 20-gamer, but what's more weight, the 20 games in the regular season, or he's allowed to come back for a playoff run? I don't think he's done in the queue, but I think it's got to be at least double digits. I say it's probably 10, and he's already served 2, so he'll have 8 more left.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that 10 to 15 range. I think we'll probably see him towards the end of March, back in the Mooseheads lineup, because I think your regular season ends that last weekend of March. She'll probably be back, I'd say mid-March.
Mhm.
That's my guess. But I guess what he did was stupid.
Oh, 100%.
It's people are saying that the fan spit on him. Well, unless that kid can hawk a loogie, there's no way that the kid spit on him. If a fan's chirping him, I mean, you can't go and take your stick between a glass and hit a kid with your stick if you're being chirped. I mean, if you're doing that in juniors, what are you going to do when you go to Philadelphia as a Nashville Predator, when you go to Boston as a Nashville Predator? You go to these markets with passionate fans, and they're calling you every name in the book, and they're on your case.
When you're a pro, right? Like not even
if you can't handle 16-year-old fans in Gatineau as a 19-year-old in the queue, you're gonna have a tough time handling, the drunk, rowdy fans in Boston or Philadelphia on a Saturday night. Like you're in tough. So just like my tweet said, $1 million skill, 5-cent brain. That's what we've seen from Zach L'Heureux. I don't want to.
That's literally the worst part. Is it's all there, and oh yeah, now I see it. The road trip continues for Zach L'Heureux and your Mooseheads tonight. Yeah, I don't think that was a scheduled one. That was a full on.
I mean, if
put
it's
out there that day.
Anything, it would have said the road trip continues for your Mooseheads, right? With Zach L'Heureux's picture.
Yeah.
Right. But the fact that they said, for Zach L'Heureux and the Mooseheads, like, come on, like you're.
Yeah, I think I saw Breyer's tweet, and I don't think I actually saw the description. I think I just saw the actual picture, and I was like, oh, that's not good. But yeah, no, scratch what I said earlier. Never mind. That's 100% what I said. But I mean, that Zach L'Heureux doing what he's doing now, I mean, that speaks to the guy off the top of the show that Denis tweeted, Jacob Pelletier being able to, control him at the age of 16, control his emotions in that shortened season as well. Elliot Desnoyers. I mean, yeah, Zach's had some suspensions there, but I mean, this stuff didn't really happen as much here with Pelletier, but I think Elliot Desnoyers had a factor on Zach L'Heureux, and I think that those two players can't be understated for the leadership that they had in kind of maintaining a healthy, and when I say healthy, I mean on the ice, not suspended, Zach L'Heureux.
100%. I mean, there's not that kind of leadership in Halifax, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't tell me that if Attilio Biasca can control Zach L'Heureux. It's just not going to happen.
No.
Zach L'Heureux's ego is too big to be able to be controlled by Biasca.
Yeah, or Dume.
It's big to be controlled by Josh Lawrence.
Yeah.
It's too big to be controlled by, Alexander Doucette. He's got an ego to him, and we've seen it in Moncton. He had his suspensions here in Moncton too.
Yep.
For silly stuff.
Yep.
And you just thought, okay, well, maybe at that point he was a 16-year-old. You just thought, okay, who was young?
It's showing his league. Like, he's not backing down for anyone. Yeah.
He's trying to show that he can play in the league.
Yep.
With older players, but now he's a 19-year-old and he's still acting like he's 15.
Yeah.
Right. He's like that. He's basically like the schoolyard punk. He's the one that wants to pick on everybody. And he's getting it's giving him a bad rep. I know he was out early a lot in the season, and that probably affected why he didn't get invited to Team Canada. But I think we're probably seeing why Team Canada didn't want him to begin with. They didn't want that brain,
that distraction,
that attitude in the dressing room, and by the looks of it, they might have made a good call on that one.
Yeah, and that Nashville's got to be in his ear, because you can't have that either. Well, you cannot have that in Nashville. You can't have that in Milwaukee in their American Hockey League affiliate. So, it's a situation where if it's 10-15, hopefully this 10-15 really sends a message, and we see a Zach LaRue that's motivated in the playoffs and just kind of straightens him out. And this is the last we hear of attacking fans from the ice. All right, let's get to the QMJHL Team of the Week, and I had it up here. It started with our guy. Now I've gone too many open things on it. Started with our guy, Etienne Morin. He's one of the defensemen. I know that much. There it is. Got too many tabs open when I'm not when I'm trying to control the phone and everything. Louis-Philippe Fontaine of the Huskies. 2 games played, 4 goals, 2 assists. Olivier Nadeau, 3 games, 6 goals, 1 assist. Lorenzo Canonica. Canonica. 2 games, 4 goals, 2 assists. Our guy, finally, for the 3rd time, Etienne Morin, 3 games played, 2 goals, 4 assists. Maverick Lamoureux of Drummondville, 2 games played, 2 goals, 1 assist. And Francisco LaPena of Gatineau, 3-0, a 9.46 save percentage, and a 1.62 goals against average. 2 of those wins coming against the OHL Ottawa 67s in one of the cooler series that I'm kind of glad is back. In the River Series or whatever they call it. And the QMJHL Player of the Week is Louis-Philippe Fontaine of the Huskies. 2 games, 4 goals, 2 assists for 6 points. All right, let's get to some happy news on the show.
Weekly Rewind.
All right, welcome to the Weekly Rewind presented by Local Sports Pub. Looking for a great place to have some wings, beers, watch some sports with friends? Head to 1715 Main Street where the Salty Sea Dog used to be. Happy hours are Monday. I believe it's 5 to 8. I should have really checked that, but I know happy hour is on Monday. I believe it's 5 to 8. Starts at 5. And Wing Night is every Tuesday. They just had a Super Bowl party where they were having they had squares. They were giving away prizes. Some dude won a bike. So, yeah. Make sure to check them out, and don't forget we will be doing some playoff preview parties from them into the month of April, which I'll talk about here at the end of the show. We finally put some W's together, put some wins in the win column, going 2 of 3, bringing the road trip record to 2-3-1, which brings our record finally back over to 500, 24-23, 1-2, 51 points, second in the Maritimes. We're 5th in the conference, 2 points up on Baie-Comeau, 6 points behind Rimouski, and 5 points behind the aforementioned Chicoutimi Sags, who are playing Val-d'Or this week. Wednesday, much needed win. They did it. They finally got over the hump. 4-2 victory over the Sea Dogs. Again, it wasn't perfect. But it was a win. A little bit of a costly one as Trent Holm took one to the face. He was out for the weekend. I'm sure he'll have a birdcage on and probably be back this week. But Ty Bell gets going in the first minute, and the team they didn't play perfect, but they got a victory.
Yeah, they got that early one and really didn't look back.
Yep.
I think you sent me the stats on this team, their records after 1, after 2, and they're a pretty good team if they have a lead.
Yeah, real good.
And they're a disastrous team if they're behind. I don't know if you still got the numbers there, but
I'm just going to find it here.
Like their record with a lead is
so
they can.
When leading after 1 this season, they're 14-8. When leading after 40, they're 17-1. When tied after 20, they're 7-2, 1-2. Tied after 2, 5-7. Trailing after 1 period, so if they get down, they're 3-13. And if they're trailing after 2, they're 2-15. Outshot, and whether they're outshooting the opponent or they're outshooting the opponent or being outshot, they're even. They're 13-13, 0-1, or 10-10-1. So, I mean, when this team has a lead, they can hold it, which struck me as odd. But they're holding on to leads, and that's what you need to do, and that's what they did in this one. They were up 3-1 after 40, and they held on. Yeah,
like they have that sense that they lock things down after when they get a lead.
Yeah,
which is, I mean, if it's like that in the playoffs and they get the first goal, well, we could be in for, for a longer playoff than what we were expecting here.
Yeah.
But if they give up that first goal, well, look out.
Yeah.
we used to be able to talk about, the cardiac cats or the character cats. Well, we haven't seen that. We haven't seen that in a while, right? Where they get behind and come back to win a game. You haven't seen that recently, and that needs to come back. I agree. It was nice to finally get a couple of wins, but call me negative Norm here, but negative Norm in these 2 wins weren't against. They were winnable games, right? I know we've got we got Sherbrooke coming up, and we got 2 games against Halifax coming up. You give me 2 wins in those games, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But
I think the thing was we finally saw them win winnable games. And that's something we hadn't seen in January. And even in Bathurst, I mean, nothing like playing St. John and Bathurst in back-to-back games to kind of get your mojo going. Didn't really help in Charlottetown. We'll get to that in a minute. But they outshot them 13-5 in Bathurst. They outshot them 19-8 in the second period, getting up 4-0 and, again, holding on after 40 minutes. But, I mean, if you want to play, it wasn't perfect, but it was great. I mean, you're facing those 2 teams, and you went 1 for 11 on the power play. Yeah. Again, that's something you need for momentum to have those leads going into the final 20 minutes. And, I had someone reach out, and nothing like facing the bottom 2 teams to kind of get your mojo going. And finally, yes, that's what got them going. And that's why I say it wasn't perfect, but they got wins against teams they're expected. I don't care if they lose to Quebec and Sherbrooke and Victoriaville and whatnot. Like, if you looked at this road trip at the start of the year, you're like, yeah, they're probably going. If you looked at the start, they're probably going 4-2 because you didn't know what Victoriaville was. You might get that one. But if you look at this in a vacuum in just these 6 games, this is exactly what would have been expected by this team on the road trip. 2, 3, and 1. If you ask a lot of fans and you just look at these 6 games, not the previous.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we were playing those teams 2 weeks ago. We lost to them. Mm-hmm. Right? It's that's what I mean. Like, these 2 wins are not. Look, I'm not throwing confetti here and celebrating. I mean it. Like, it's nice to get a couple of wins, but really, it was. I want to see wins against winning teams, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's Charlottetown on. They seem to be kind of like a.
God, I hate playing that team.
That's right. Like, we can't win against them.
I hate playing that team.
They always have a goaltender we cannot solve. Yeah. Which was why I was excited when I saw that they started Grimes on Sunday. Yeah. Was Saturday.
It Sunday?
Sorry, Saturday.
Yeah.
And they took advantage of it, right? He was gone after 2 goals.
2 goals and 5 shots, and he had both of them. They squeaked through.
Yeah, but then Robillard comes in and locks it down. Yeah, and it's just one of those things where every time we seem to play Charlottetown, they've got a goaltender we just cannot solve, and I think at this point we've kind of got a book on Robillard. We should be able to solve them, and well, it happened a couple of times, but then you get into overtime, and we all saw it. We all saw what happened there. Yeah. It was,
and that game was, I was up in the booth with that one. That game was marred in controversy for both teams. Look, it was a special teams effort for that one in the first period for both teams. All 4 goals in the first period were scored on the power play. 2 for us, 2 for them. I don't know what it is with linesmen and the Eastlink Center. I mean, LaBelle's penalty, I had to go back and watch it. And yes, he did get the 1 warning, but it looks like Charlottetown got the first warning and then LaBelle got the penalty. And I think what he was complaining about is the ref went to make a move, and that's why he slapped his stick down to get the draw. And when you go back and watch it, it kind of looks like that. But the controversy at the end of the game was the icing call, and that got Jim Holton kicked out. He got a 1-game suspension for it, so he won't be behind the bench this Thursday. But it was an icing. It was 100%. It was 100% not an icing. The player was even with him. It was a missed call. I understand it. But here's the kicker. You go back about 15 seconds before that, and you can see Kieran Gallant cross-check Bodine from behind. And they had a thing going all night. They're not fans of each other. And, you know, if Kieran Gallant gets called in that cross-check, we're on a 6-on-4 with the empty net. They shoot it down the ice. Maybe who knows if we score with the way our power play is going. They shoot it down the ice. It's not an icing. They might ice that thing in overtime or in regular season. If we do score, I mean, you know, it's just both teams had missed calls near the end. An unfortunate turnover in overtime that ended up in the back of the net. But like I hate playing Charlottetown, and I said it on the broadcast with Corey. I don't like playing that team. And you look at last year, well, in the last 5 years, I mean, Charlottetown's 28-4 against Moncton.
Yep, they've had our number.
They've had our number.
And like I said, they always seem to have a goaltender
Yep.
that we cannot solve. And it's not just this year. It's not just last year. It's not the year before. It goes back to
McDonald?
the PEI Rocket.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they've had Antoine Bibeau. They've had Ryan Muir. They've had, you know, every single time you turn around, they seem to have a goaltender that the Wildcats just cannot figure.
Yeah.
So good for them. You know, they have our number, and it's I don't know what they're going to do next year with, you know, Robillard won't be back. I think he's 20.
Yeah.
By the way, Dawson Grimes is playing. I doubt he's back.
Yeah, they got Flanagan in the pipeline, so I mean they'll probably just acquire a goaltender and he'll stand on his head.
There you go.
I mean, and that's the reason when last week when you said you were thinking 3-0 and I went 2-3 and losing Charlottetown. I mean, in the last 5 years, Charlottetown is 12-3-2 on the island against Moncton.
Yeah.
It's just it's a mental hurdle they can't get over.
Oh, and they're going to have to acquire a goaltender next year, and you know we might just have one that's available.
Yeah.
You know, so imagine we've got one that's available, and he goes down to Charlottetown and just starts shutting the door on the Wildcats. You know,
100% he would.
It's just the way things are. It's you go across the bridge as a Wildcats fan, and it's like, well, you pay $50 to go across the bridge, but you might as well get hit by a brick wall because you're
Yeah.
That's what it's been like for 15, 20 years.
Yep. And what I'll say about said player that we talked about a little earlier, and if you watch that first period, look, we last week in the heat of our show, a couple names slipped, and we reached out to that person. We don't want to be that group. We pride ourselves on being the voice. We understand their kids, and we've said that many times. Their kids, you got to find that balance. Dan Lacroix, go find his quote. He talked about needing this player in the lineup, and we're not going to have him this week for at least 2 of the 4 games as we go against Charlottetown on Thursday, which is student night. Get your tickets. They're doing it. Get your tickets. Sherbrooke is the Pride night. Halifax. I'm glad they got wins in 2 of 3, but like you said, we're not planning parades of beating St. John and Bathurst. We're not even buying full ticket packages, which I'll say at the end of the show why you can buy those. But this is Charlottetown in our rink, the first game after a 6-game road trip. And yes, they've been home this past week, but this is a tough little 4-game stretch for Moncton, having Charlottetown, who has kind of our number, Sherbrooke, and then Halifax, which they're going to be without LaRue, but they're on quite a bit of they just had their first loss, but this is a good 3-game stretch. They're playing 4 games in 5 nights and 3-3 over this holiday weekend.
That's tough.
Power play's got to be on. Power play's got to be better than it has been.
Well, there's got to be a lot. There has to be a lot that's on these games. We're down a defenseman, in Hamel, and look, he knows he didn't have a good game.
Yeah.
Lacroix knows he doesn't have a good game, and the way I look at it, I looked at the schedule. That was his last game in Charlottetown in his junior career, so maybe he just wanted to hang out with his billets, from his days as an Islander. So,
yeah.
This upcoming week is tough, and if we get
I don't even know how to go points wise, right?
If we get 3 wins out of 4, I will personally bring confetti to the studio next week, and we will throw it in the air. We will celebrate 3 wins out of 4. But that's it. If it's 2 out of 4, nope. If it's 1 out of 4, nope.
Yeah.
If we go winless, not a chance. 3 wins out of 4, I will bring confetti to the studio next week, and we will shoot it off. That's just how, I don't want to be. I want to take this negative Norman right now and turn it into some positive Peter, and some positive Pete wants to shoot some confetti next week in the studio.
Yeah, I'm okay. You heard that. You heard that, gentlemen. 3 wins in 4 of these games. I don't care which 3 they are. We're gonna toss confetti for you. The Islanders game is just so massive because that's one that you have to. I mean, you kind of have to have that one because now you had 2 wins and you take the back-to-back losses against Charlottetown, and then you're really stressing with 3-3 against Sherbrooke and Halifax. It's just that Charlottetown one sets the tone, and the worst part is it's the first one after the road trip, and they've never played well after a big road trip, but they got to have it, and there's got to be a lot of facets that have to be good, and power play has to be one, but discipline has to be one. This is a weekend where you cannot take penalties against the Sherbrooke, against the Charlotte or Halifax in back-to-back games, because those 2, 7:00 at home, 4:00, and then you're flipping right around to 2:00. It's not a long road trip, but it's within 24 hours. It's a big one. I'm trying to find the penalty power play. So Sherbrooke's power play is 28.7, first in the league, and Halifax's is 22.6, eighth in the league. For reference, Moncton's at 20.4. Penalty killing, Ottawa is at wrong team. Victoriaville's leading at 83.6. Sherbrooke and Halifax are 3 and I hate that they put Ottawa in there. 2 and 3 at 82.6 and 82.1. So, I mean, our penalty kill is at 77%. So you cannot take penalties. Like, step 1 is no penalties. And if you get opportunities, you got to at least squeak a couple greasers in there to turn momentum, because those are going to be huge. If you have a power play against a team like that, you got to take advantage of the numbers moving into that one. So, all right. Well, let's get to the old everyone's favorite part of this show.
Well, you're right. Special teams is going to be huge for these games, and you know what, Adam? In honor of Valentine's Day, we need the D. And the D we need is discipline. We need the D. We need the double D.
Yeah.
We need defense. We need discipline. And if we can get the D and we get the double Ds,
we get the W.
And the W. We maybe we'll be slapping some shooting off some confetti there next week in the studio.
Oh, I'm kind of glad you weren't in the. Kind of missed the fact that you were in the studio to shoot off your confetti there. All right, let's get to everyone's favorite part of the show.
Eric Murray, Realtor, buy a house from him. Stick Tap of the Week.
All right, Stick Tap of the Week. We're going to switch roles here. I'm going to take the Stick Tap of the Week this week. It's a pretty easy one. It goes out to friend of the show, Corey Arsenault. We've had him on for the trade recap show, the trade deadline shows, as well as our preseason kind of look at the Charlottetown Islanders. He was gracious enough, along with George Matthews, to have myself and Layla up in the press box. Really nice press box, actually. When you go up top there, they've got a nice bar. They've got a nice Islanders lounge. They just put it in last year. Real nice setup that they have up there. And he was gracious enough to not only have us up in the press box, but to have me on the second intermission. Now, I thought it was going to be on the game, but unfortunately it was just on the radio and it wasn't recorded. So I hope you caught it. But if you didn't, obviously a big stick tap to him and George Matthews, who he made my presence known on the broadcast more than a few times, because I couldn't cheer, but I think I may have thrown my shoulder out when Barbashev scored with about 18 seconds left there. I couldn't yell, but man, was I just pumping my shoulder. And obviously a big stick tap of the week to the Charlottetown Islanders organization for allowing us to be up in the press box, as well to Corey Arsenault, the color voice of the Charlottetown Islanders, for having me on the broadcast.
The Stick Tap of the Week, sponsored by Eric Murray Real Estate with the RE/MAX Avante team. If you're looking to buy or sell a home in the Greater Moncton or surrounding area, make sure to check him out on social media or give him a call at 506-863-8802.
And that brings us to the Wildcast Wildcat of the Week, presented by Rosemary Lynn Massage and Spa, who now direct Bills. This February, I know Valentine's Day was yesterday, and maybe you got caught up, you forgot. Not very smart. Maybe you were in St. John at a hotel room. You couldn't get to where you needed to go. If you want to make up for that, give her a call. They got 15% off for the month of February. As well, they've got a new, I can't think of the word that's going through a card. A services card that you get nine massages, you get one free. So if you maybe screwed up and you need to rework some things, give her a call, 506-830-1224, or visit them at 1224 Mountain Road. You're up.
That's right. And again, in honor of Valentine's Day, it doesn't matter if it's Valentine's Day or Canada Day or Easter. Any day is a good day for a facial.
He's been waiting for weeks to do that, folks.
The Wildcat of the Week. He was on the Q Team of the Week this week. 2 goals and 4 assists. Etienne Morin, number 5 of your Wildcats, is our Wildcat of the Week this week. If you look at some of the numbers he put up recently, Adam, I mean, just compare it to his rookie season. 8 goals last year. He's up to 17 now, so he's already doubled his goal production. His plus minus in his rookie year was minus 12. He's a plus 12 this year, so he's flipped that around by 24. I know there's only how many games left in the season? 17, 18?
18 games left.
18 games left. Well, if he can just happen to get 8 goals in those final games, he will tie Keith Yandel's record for most goals by defenseman in a season, which was franchise records 25 set by Yandel in the Memorial Cup hosting year of 05-06. So if he's got 17 at this point next year, season, there's a pretty good chance he might come close to that record next year. So if there's a defenseman who can get that record set by Yandel, I think we can put money on Morin.
Yeah, 17 goals now. He's got 18 games left. He might have it he might get it. We'll have to make sure we keep that. 25, that's it. That seems, I thought it was higher than that for.
Yeah, it's 20. So most goals by defensemen's 25, most points by defensemen's 84. Both by Yandel.
He's got 53 this year.
What's that?
He's got 53 this year.
Yeah, 53 points. So I don't think he's going to get 30 points in 17 games. But
if he does, we're on a heater.
Yeah. So I think the goals by defenseman record, if he doesn't get it this year, and he progresses, as good as he has into next season, I think he's got a shot at that 25.
Yeah, it's he's got a hell of a shot to get at least the goal record this year, and then we'll have to look at maybe points next year. But you'll be back in studio next week, correct?
Yes, I will. Yes. It'll be the family day on Monday.
So Tuesday.
So we will possibly be, So I'll definitely be back in the studio for
perfect
for next Monday. For next week's show.
All right, that'll do it for this week's show. Stay tuned to our social medias this week, as we're going to have a couple like and share posts to win tickets to Saturday's Pride Night. Again, I never thought it would happen. I know you didn't think it would happen. I mean, before we get out of here, that's a pretty monumental type game for this organization to have, right?
Yeah, this has clearly been happening with good reason.
Yeah.
Across a lot of the rinks in the CHL and the AHL and even the NHL for that matter. You're seeing it everywhere. hockey, football, basketball, and the Wildcats finally got around to doing one. And it's we don't know. They probably won't have the warm-up jerseys, but no, this will be good. It's been a long time coming. The light bulb finally went off in someone's head in the organization, and so it's good on them for finally stepping up and not to say they're showing some class here, but they're getting it. They're finally getting it.
Yep, and it doesn't just stop. It doesn't start and stop with this game against Sherbrooke. It's all the time. Everyone has a right to play. And, let's make it an annual thing, not just a one and done kind of public pressure to put one on and, we did one, we're done now. Let's continue to make it an annual thing moving forward. So we'll have some tickets to give away. We'll have 2 sets of 2 tickets to give away. If you are a season ticket holder and you believe to achieve, you can now get your 2023 playoff packages. Just fill out the playoff form, send it to the email. On game days, top the kiosk, the gate 1, they'll have playoff packages to get them. And you can drop it off and pay for it at gate 6 on February 13th, 14th, or March 1st. And or give Sean Rogers a call at 850-506 now. You gotta dial the whole number. 850-3911, which is kind of funny because I've been doing that my whole life in Alberta. But just for those wondering, tickets did go up. Last year, I think ours were $249, and now there's only 3 games in round 1, and then 3 games in round or best of 5, or whatever. But my section 108, a playoff package is $307. I don't know if I'll get a playoff package. If you do get it and they don't go past that, you don't use all your tickets. That does go to next year's season tickets, but the playoff packages are out for season ticket holders, and they haven't done the flex pack. Maybe. Oh no, my bad. Flex pack playoff form, so you can get the flex playoff packages. No, just a little bit slower there, internet. It's probably what I will. So $319 for a 16 flex pack, or a flex build a pack. Or 10. So check your emails if you're a season ticket holder, as you can start to reserve your playoff tickets. Again, this is one of the things. I know the Wildcats, we didn't touch on it in the news and notes from around the league. Gervais Munger Award winner was Jacob Steinman for the Wildcats as well. They hired a new general manager of business operations, which I don't know about you, but gave me a heart attack because I scrolled through it and just saw GM, and I thought Richie was... I was like, oh, dear God, I had to send it to you real quick. Like, hey, man, I saw this and just about had a heart attack, and you did too. Hugo Bernier from Quebec. He's currently the Vice President of Corporate Partnerships at the Toronto Riviera Lions. Ties in nicely to what we were talking about last week, which is Montreal's ECHL team. So, hopefully a new voice. This is probably the 3rd or 4th one they've kind of had. This seems like someone who has a hockey background as opposed to in the business world. So he's got his work cut out for him, as it's a pretty good market, but there's a few things that obviously could be enhanced, and the playoff package is one of them. If you're a season ticket holder, that first round, those 3 or 4 games, depending on if we have home ice, should be included in your season ticket. But I digress. I don't want to get into all that again. Thanks for Jeremy taking time out of his busy on-the-road scouting schedule to join me on the show, and he will be back next week, hopefully with some confetti in the Wildcast Studios. For Jeremy, I'm Adam. Have a good week.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Wildcast Podcast. Follow us on social media at Moncton Wildcast.